Did a simple outfit choice just cause a major diplomatic crisis? Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky walked into the Oval Office expecting serious discussions about the war in Ukraine, but instead, his military attire became the center of controversy. A single question from a conservative journalist set off an unexpected confrontation between Zelensky, Donald Trump, and U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, turning what was supposed to be a diplomatic meeting into a global spectacle. So, what exactly happened? And is there more to this than just clothing? Let's break it all down. Since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Zelensky has adopted a strict military-style dress code: green fatigues, combat boots, and no suits. He says it's a symbol of solidarity with Ukrainian soldiers on the front lines, a way of showing that he is one of them. But not everyone sees it that way. Critics, particularly from the conservative side of U.S. politics, have long argued that his refusal to wear formal attire in high-level diplomatic meetings is a sign of disrespect, especially when billions of U.S. dollars have gone to supporting Ukraine's war effort. This tension finally exploded into public view during his latest meeting with Trump in the White House. The drama unfolded when reporters were allowed to ask questions. Brian Glenn, a conservative journalist from Real America's Voice, directly confronted Zelensky with a question that took the room by surprise. Why don't you wear a suit? You're in the highest office of this country, and you refuse to dress appropriately. Do you even own a suit? The atmosphere in the room immediately changed. Zelensky, who had been engaging in diplomatic discussions with Trump, suddenly looked frustrated. But his response was sharp and laced with humor. I will wear a costume after this war is finished. Maybe something like yours, maybe something better, maybe something cheaper. The response drew laughter from the room, but it was clear that the moment had escalated tensions. And this wasn't just about fashion. It was about respect, power dynamics, and the shifting relationship between Ukraine and the US. Why this question was more than it seemed. To understand why this question became such a flashpoint, we need to look at who Brian Glenn is and what his network represents. Glenn is a strong Trump supporter and a journalist at Real America's Voice, a right-wing cable news outlet known for promoting pro-Trump narratives. He is also reportedly dating Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of Trump's most vocal supporters in Congress. His network has been accused of spreading conspiracy theories about the 2020 election, the Capitol riot, and more. So, was Glenn's question a genuine concern about decorum, or was it a strategic political jab aimed at Zelensky to stir up controversy? Many believe it was the latter. The tension didn't end there. Vice President J.D. Vance then took the confrontation further, calling Zelensky disrespectful for discussing Ukraine's needs in front of the U.S. media. I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media right now, Vance said. From that point on, the meeting spiraled downhill. Reports suggest that before the meeting, White House staff had actually asked Zelensky to wear a suit, and they were offended when he didn't comply. Eventually, in a move that stunned observers, Zelensky was abruptly escorted out of the White House, marking a low point in U.S.-Ukraine relations since the war began. This wasn't just a petty argument over clothing. It was a sign of deeper shifts in geopolitics. Let's break down the key takeaways. 1. U.S. support for Ukraine is fracturing. With Trump back in power and the MAGA wing of the Republican Party skeptical about continued military aid, Ukraine may find itself struggling for support. 2. Political symbolism matters. Zelensky's military attire is seen by some as a symbol of resilience, but by others as a refusal to follow traditional diplomatic norms. The Trump factor. Trump's relationship with Russia, NATO, and Ukraine is far different from Biden's, and this could signal a major shift in how the U.S. engages with the war in Ukraine moving forward. Interestingly, some of Zelensky's defenders pointed out that he isn't the first wartime leader to ditch formal attire. During World War II, Churchill often wore military-style jumpsuits while meeting with world leaders, including Franklin Roosevelt. Even U.S. presidents have deviated from formal suits during wartime. So, is this really about respect, or is it about political narratives being pushed to undermine Zelensky's credibility? Zelensky hasn't commented on the confrontation directly, but one thing is clear. His fight isn't just on the battlefield anymore. It's now also in the realm of politics, media perception, and global diplomacy. Will he change his approach to suit, pun intended, the expectations of US leaders? Or will he continue to push back against critics who question his gratitude and respect for American support? One thing's for sure, this moment in the Oval Office will be remembered as a turning point in Ukraine's relationship with the US. What do you think? Was the question about Zelensky's suit fair, or was it an intentional political attack? Do you think his choice of clothing truly impacts diplomacy, or is this a distraction from more important issues? Let's discuss in the comments below. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more deep dives into global politics and history. Stay tuned.